Okay, welcome to a video to demonstrate using Ames RayStudio 2 analysis software. First, let's launch the analysis software by double-clicking on the icon on the desktop. Once you have RayStudio 2 analysis launched, you'll see that the screen has been divided into several areas. In the upper right-hand corner, we have the test database window. This has a list with each of the tests or logged data files that you have downloaded from your data logger. We're going to select this one from Thunderhill, and we can either double click on this or select the Open Test button. When the test opens up, usually the first thing you get is you get a measures graph on the right hand side showing you some of the channels from your log data. On the left hand side you have what's called the Measures and Laps window. It has multiple tabs. The first tab, the Measures tab, shows each of the channels or logged data streams that you have in your data. You can turn on and off a particular channel by clicking on the name of it. So for example, clicking this engine shows you the engine RPM in that very first graph. In the lower part of the screen we have a test laps manager, and this actually shows each one of the laps for the entire run. If you have lots and lots of laps, then the distance between these will be much closer. You can see which laps are selected because they have a check mark on them. So if I select laps 3 and 5, I get two different laps overlaid here. Or you can move the lap that's selected by grabbing the colored line and actually moving it to a different lap, and you'll see the data changes for one lap to the other. Another way to choose the lap is over in the Measures and Laps window. We click the Laps tab. This is a list of all of the laps, and we can select, there's the fastest lap in red, we can select that one and then unselect a different one, or select any 2 laps or 3 laps that we want to see and compare. Now, once you have this, to go back to the measures, we click the Measures tab and we can choose which measures and which graphs we see. There are multiple views of graphs here. I'm looking at one that's called a tiled graph. We can also see one where it overlays multiple channels, and there's another one where it overlays and gives us access to the scales. Using the latest version of RayStudio 2, you can actually rescale each of the individual channels and move the channels up and down so you can control something about how the overlap works. To select a different channel to be seen, I kind of like the tile view, by the way. It gives me each one scaled correctly. If I want to see a particular channel like oil pressure, then I click oil pressure, and now as I click my cursor, I can actually read what the oil pressure is through here. Notice that it gives you both the value and it shows the minimum of whatever area we're zoomed in on, or the maximum. So for example, I'm looking at an area right here near a corner, and I might zoom in, and now I would see that that the maximum oil pressure was 76 psi and the minimum oil pressure was 38 psi. Maybe I want to look at the engine RPM during that time, and I find out that that maximum oil pressure happens when the engine is running at 11,000 RPM, and the minimum oil pressure happened down here when the engine was only running at 7,500 RPM. Another thing you may want to do to help you navigate, by the way, I zoomed in on the data using the up and down arrow keys. So I just pressed the down arrow and now I'm zoomed all the way out to looking at a single lap. Another thing that may help you navigate is to use the map. So you can click Show Track Map if a map has been created for this particular track. Here's one showing this track, which is Thunderhill. Or if you haven't done that, you can go under the map and select New. And when you've selected New, you want to go ahead and choose usually 4-wheel unless you're on a motorcycle, and it's a closed course. Typically you would, down in this next list, choose a particular lap. I usually choose a lap that's not quite the fastest lap, but I make sure that it's not a short lap or something that doesn't represent And then you may need to modify this track shape slightly to get the track to look exactly like, in our case, Thunder Hill. When you're done with that, you can actually name the track, and it will remember that for any track that is the same as this. So I'm going to choose Thunder Hill and say OK, and it says, oh, Thunder Hill already exists. Sure, I'll use this as the new Thunder Hill. Hopefully this has given you kind of an introduction to Ray Studio 2 and how you might use it. Thank you, and I'll see you in another video soon.